My brother, where do you intend to go tonight? I heard that you missed your connecting flight to the Blue Ridge Mountain over near Tennessee. You're ever welcome with me anytime you like. Let's drive to the countryside, leave behind some green-eyed lookalikes, so no one gets worried, no. So no one gets worried, no. But Sean, don't get careless, I'm sure it'll be fine. I love you, I love you, oh brother of mine.
At this time, we're going to begin the funeral service of Julian Isaac Newman. Rabbi Andrea London, the emerito rabbi here, Rabbi Brian Immerman, the senior rabbi, and Cantor Natalie Young will be officiating. Just as a last and gentle reminder, please be sure your phones are off, and we do have about 5 or 6 seats over here if you want to come forward. This time, we're going to begin the ceremony.
Yeah. The music we heard as we entered is a song called The Blue Ridge Mountains by the Fleet Foxes, which was one of Julian's most favorite songs. David, Heidi, Rena, and Ed, dear friends and dear family, today we are here to gather and mourn and remember our son, our brother, our nephew, our friend, Julian Newman. There are no words for the many thoughts and questions swirling around our minds. Perhaps there are no words for our grief either. Only the primordial sounds that emanate from our crying, our sobbing, the heavy breathing during our silence. Like the prophet Aaron, upon learning that his sons died, we too are silent. Yet there was sound in this sanctuary, and there were sounds before the service started. Footsteps outside on the pavement, on the carpeted halls of the synagogue, footsteps heavy and dragging, coming to surround you all with love, care, and with comfort. Heidi, David, Rena, and Ed, and to all of Julian's family and friends, please know that your entire community is here for you, for whatever you need, whenever you need it, ready to help you through the valley of darkness. We are here doing what we do best as a community, together reminding you that you are not alone, and to shine a light upon the many gifts that Julian brought to this world. May they continue to guide you and us all forever. We continue with Psalm 121. Our ancient psalmist, filled with questions of their own, asked, I lift my eyes to the mountains, what is the source of my help? And the psalmist answers, my help will come from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm, and God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever.
In this precious time together, we will hear from people who were closest to Julian, to share stories of his life, for us to think about his legacy. As we begin, I would like to invite Rabbi Josh Fagelson, a cousin of Julian's, who will read a letter written by a close friend of Julian's.
This is a letter from Julian's friend, Henry Meager. My gratitude for having been graced by Julian's friendship could not be greater. Soon after having met during our studies at UW-Madison with a shared interest in Russian language and literature, our friendship blossomed into one in which not only Julian's intellect, but also his deeply kind-hearted nature became evident to me quickly, qualities which were constants in our years of friendship which followed. Our conversations on literature, translation, philosophy, or politics sharpened my mind and expanded my curiosity, while my heart was touched when we shared with each other certain life experiences. For example, when Julian would tell me of volunteer work that he did to tutor adult learners of English in his community and how gratifying it was for him, I came out of the conversation inspired by his kindness. Conversely, when I spoke with him about emotionally tough experiences in my work as a medical interpreter, I would see genuine compassion in his eyes or hear it in his voice as we reassured each other of the importance of our work. Beyond his worldly, intellectual, and emotional intelligence, Julian also had a curative sense of humor. I looked that up, actually. Curative means it made you heal. It was a healing sense of humor. He brought levity to my days, and many a time did my belly hurt from laughing so hard with him, from his words and jokes, and also from the situational hilarity of shared times, such as when, as fresh college graduates on a celebratory trip with our friend Lucas, we accidentally drove up to the diplomat lane of the Serbia-Hungary border crossing station, clad in sweatpants in a rental car full of open bags of snacks, and were greeted with an officer's raised eyebrow and a dubious, "Diplomats?" Together, Julian and I studied in libraries in Madison, ate caviar at the opera in Russia, drank beer over the Danube in Serbia, sipped matzo ball soup in Budapest, looked at ancient things in museums in France, and played chess at sometimes intercontinental distances online. Julian, a quiet well-wisher, loved knowledge. Loved otherness, loved language and words, loved animals, loved his friends, and loved his family. Julian's presence reverberates and breathes through me and through us. I love you, Julian.
Now I'd like to invite Julian's father, Dave, to speak.
Hi, everyone. Kind of overwhelming here. Those of you who may know me know that I express myself. One of the ways I express myself is through music. And when Julian was first born, I wrote a little song for him called The Joy of Jewels. And it goes like this. Right now, he's a little on the little side, but growing like a weed. Pretty soon, he's gonna find his hands, and he'll be crawling at full speed. He'll laugh and coo, he'll smile at you, but watch out when he drools, and then you'll know about the joy of jewels. 17 years ago, I wrote, right here, Julian, I'm thinking about the 6-year-old that I showed how to move the pieces on a chessboard who, within a year, could beat me in 5 moves. Or all the hours we spent playing catch with a baseball and the arm which I'm now intimidated by when you pitch. About the ping pong table that we inherited when we moved into our house and how our casual games have led you to earning a USATT rating of over 700. And most recently, your interest in bicycle racing. I can't wait to see how far you go with that. There's something pretty great about seeing your offspring outdo you. These are words I delivered from this bima at Julian's bar mitzvah, things that gave me great nachas. Now I remember a dinner at our home when Julian was on spring break from Madison's senior year and asking him to read a paper that he had written in Russian for a Russian language class. Hearing him read so fluently in a language he had worked so hard to master again made me so proud. On the trip that Julian made to Eastern Europe that Henry spoke of, Julian recounted how he was the only one who could drive stick and how the underpowered and rented VW Polo was barely making it through some mountains. And Julian always wanted a dog, and during COVID, he adopted Griffin. Griffin brought so much joy to Julian. Most recently, Julian was finding joy in cooking, discovering new recipes, cooking with Heidi, his Aunt Natalie. It was always an adventure for all, usually with yummy outcomes. And I always loved when Julian would just cook for me, the two of us at home, some exotic thing that usually was pretty good. And recently, with Rena and Ed's guidance, Julian planted a garden with veggies and now a 7-foot-tall sunflower. That's pretty amazing. I know many of you in this room have memories of Julian to share. My hope is that all of us today will remember Julian's sweet, gentle soul and keep his memory in our hearts. There's a song that I wrote for Julian, and the lyrics to the song are here inside your program. And I'm very honored that 2 of the friends who are on the recording are here, my friends Jody Fox and Heidi Meredith. Heidi played bass, and Jody did some beautiful vocals. So please enjoy my song for Julian.
Wish I could get back to you, the joy it brought to me, and rearrange the things that cause you pain. A kiss to make things better, a way to feel okay, the life that you deserve in every way. But I would give everything if I could do anything to make your world feel better and make this life a happy place for you. When you're on your own and things get blurry, look around to see how far you've come and all there is to be. Know that you can make things better, that you really are okay, and the life that you deserve is on its way. Holding you on my shoulder, watching trains go by, baseball games and birthday parties, catching you down a slide. Yeah, I would give everything if I could do anything to make your world feel better and make this life a happy place for you. Everything, if I could do anything to make your world feel better and make this life a happy place for you.
And I'd like to invite Julian's sibling, Rena Yehuda, to speak.
My name is Rena Yehuda. I am Julian's younger sibling. Before I begin, I would like everyone to turn to the person next to them and tell them what is one thing that you have chosen for yourself. What is one thing that you have chosen for yourself? To be Julian's sibling. Someone I'm looking for who I can find. My friend Meg. I'm going to bring everyone back together. I am a professional facilitator. That is my job now. Thank you for sharing of yourself this way. These moments that we can do that are so holy and part of tending and healing the brokenness in the world. And this right now is a moment of holiness and of brokenness. Every gift that I have is for and from Julian. And in our shared gifts, we have both appreciated our choices, our freedom, and ourselves. My brother and I are made of the same material. Our faces rhyme, and so does our avoda, our holy work in this world. Before we were born, or perhaps at the moment that we decided to be together as siblings, as sister and brother, and then brothers in this life, and we choose our parents as our parents, and our family as our family, we agreed to be each other's allies, companions in accomplishing what we were put here to do. We lived in contrasts and parallels, devoted to the knowledge of the brokenness and possibility of the world and the role that love and freedom play in bringing the next one. And so we were born into these lives feeling like strangers and deriving different tools to achieve the same holy end, exploring Olam Hazeh, the world as it is, for ways to bring Olam Haba, the world to come. Our Hebrew names, too, are emanations of our shared understanding. Our double-barrel names were given wisely to us by our parents. My name, Rena Yehuda, Rena being joyful song, Yehuda being Jew, one who is grateful, or one who contains the divine aspects of Hod. So, I am Rena Yehuda, joyful Jewish song, perhaps joyful song of gratitude. And his name, Chaim Yitzchak, Chaim, life, plural, in the way that water is plural and endless. Yitzchak, he who laughs, causes laughter, laughter itself. So he is Chaim Yitzchak. A life or lives of laughter, or perhaps the laughter of life. We are B'nai David v'Chaya, of the house of David and Chaya. We dance together as song and laughter in the gratitude of being alive. Chaim Yitzchak and Rena Yehuda, the laughter of life and joyful Jewish song. The best part about a funeral is being together. And the best part of being together, in my experience, is witnessing one another and telling stories. When we were little, Julian and I played with marbles, building stadiums out of Lego Duplos for marble wrestling competitions. He would create brackets and meticulously list the wins and losses, and I elaborated complex relational plot lines for the emotional fallout of these championship competitions. We had our rituals and our games. Being my older brother, I followed his lead as we embarked treacherously into the early 2000s internet, a place of freedom and peril. He revealed to me unexpected frontiers for freedom. Message boards, forums, RuneScape. We both learned to type this way, the first inklings of our lives which would use language as our vehicle for connection with others. And he would go on to become a polyglot of many, many tongues. At the console in the dining room, we discovered that language would grant us our earliest experiences of a freedom that we relished both separately and together. True to his Hebrew name, Julian evolved a distinct and niche sense of humor deeply connected to the idiosyncrasy of our digital time, and I absorbed its subtlety and joy at the absurd. Humor was everywhere in our lives together, indelibly intertwined with the alienation we both felt at a cultural context that couldn't quite make sense of either of us. It was through laughter that he alchemized the way that he felt like a stranger in a strange land, and in doing so, illuminated the way for me to know that when I too faced struggle, alchemy was always an option. Because I had him, and he loved me, I knew that I was not alone in feeling alone. He is escorting me now as I become a steward for him. I will share with you my heartache, not because there is a single thing about him that is tragic, but because the nature of his struggle illuminates a mechanism that is so endlessly beautiful, not only about him, but about the nature of everyone who I love because of him, and the nature of redemption itself. When Julian was in his sophomore year of college, he experienced his first significant mental health episode. In the time that followed, he and I had to be more distant from one another. We would call or text, but it was sporadic, with long spaces in between. It was very hard for us both. Being inside of that distance was practice in the endurance of faith, to learn that distance is actually a tool of holiness, and that one definition of kedusha, of holiness, is separation and setting things apart. It is the distance between logs that allows oxygen to enter and fire to flourish. It is space between plants that allows their roots to spread as wide or as deep as they need, so that growth can find form. These processes can be tended to, but never controlled. He let me go and accepted my own search for myself far away. For a decade, we were apart and refined the practice of emunah, of trust. Leaving a light on for somebody after it's gotten dark. I never lost hope of him. It wasn't that I believed that one day he would find his way, but that even in our separation, he was actively wayfinding. It is from him that I learned how to have enough faith in someone that they are strengthened enough to produce it for themselves. In the long decade of our apartness, I turned to Torah to find him. He was numbed to the world in order to cope with what he hadn't yet acquired spiritual tools for, and so I forgot his first Hebrew name the same year that I acquired my second one. In the amnesic meantime, I held on to the patriarch of his second name. Yitzchak Avinu, Isaac of the Tanakh, wanders around the world digging out the wells that his father built, which have been filled in and no longer give water. Yitzchak's experience of the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, left him with traumatic knowledge of the world's terrible paradox. But instead of forfeiting to grief, Yitzchak quietly and devotedly digs wells and brings forth water so that vitality may be restored to everyone. He makes the world more livable, not just for one person, but for all of us, in a way that sustains generations. Even when he was far from me, I watched Julian do exactly this. He learned and mastered Russian language before moving on to Spanish, Japanese, and certainly other languages that he hadn't yet told me about. Became an excellent chess player, and traveled the world to see what else was possible. Like me, he desired and led an international life. So he completed a master's in international relations to channel his hard-won skills into bettering the world through service. It is through no fault of his that there was no government to employ him after his training. The systems of the world could not hold him. This past Passover, in this terrible political time, I came home, and I saw him in person for the first time in a year and a half. But this time, for the first time in so many years, he was there, really present, and there in a totally new way. And so we met for the first time as adults with delight. Finally, after years of a wall, a wash, an overlay, we were together in full color. Like our great-grandfather Jaime, my husband Ed is a master gardener, or will be very soon. Julian and Ed felt a deep and immediate love for each other. And so when I was coming home for Pesach, we decided that we would send him seeds as a gift. The seeds arrived when I arrived, and Julian and I began to garden upon my arrival. I loved that he wanted to, that he was excited for it, to try it. We took recycled Chinese takeaway trays and sowed beans, peas, cucumbers, tomatoes, pollinator party wildflowers, and sunflowers. I taught him what I learned from Ed. We built raised beds in the yard and watched the seedlings grow over the week that I was there. When I returned back to the UK, every time Ed and I went to our garden, we sent him photos and he returned the favor. Things grew. The metaphors were straightforward and life-affirming. The plants themselves were lovely. Our conversations flourished. We began to speak on the phone every week, a few times a week. We learned how to have short phone calls alongside the long ones. We talked about everything, including how awful the world was, and then forged frameworks for understanding its redemption instead of giving into the fatalism that our oligarchs encourage. Over those months, the tallest sunflower grew in our backyard. As he said goodbye, we were also saying hello. The last 5 days since he left have been some of the most sacred of my life. This liminal time, aninut, between exit and burial, is precious and has been filled with tremendous aliveness and revelation. I have slept very little, and I feel like Jacob on the night of his dream, with angels running and returning. How could I sleep in such a holy place? I have experienced the pluralness of the name Chaim Yitzchak as my life is enlivened by his life absorbed into mine. It has been a tremendous Shabbat. He is my double portion, and I have had the profound experience of now, in this moment, having two lives inside of one. With him near me, in me, and with me, I feel strength and protection and joy, joy, joy. Not a single thing about Julian was tragic. He lived a life with a full force that is the mirror image of mine. His choice to take his life is a testament to how hard and how strongly he chose life every day that he lived it, consciously, powerfully, as an expression of will. He loved the world and the people who composed it in a way that was straightforward and direct, with a simplicity that is no simple task. He was unfailingly kind to other people, even when he felt alienated or perplexed by his own station. His profound sensitivity to presence allowed him to see both the magnificence of the world and its terrible limitations. And he found endless ways to work that paradox in service of life. He wanted things to change, always, and admired people who were courageous enough to become more themselves. Julian didn't need to understand someone in order to love them, and in doing so, allowed others to be more fully themselves, and therefore more possible to be understood and loved better. He loved and admired me, and in spite of our endless sibling frustrations and arguments, he experienced me never as a rival, and always as a talisman and companion, fighting with him in service of his becoming, completely in his corner, and proud to be inside of mine. What a spectacular way to be loved. In missing my brother for a decade, I also sought him out everywhere. This meant that I got to find his gifts everywhere. Because I missed him and because of the way we loved each other, I met the people who I now love the most. I fell in love with my husband, Ed, especially because of my love for Julian. And in turn, Ed's love for me and for Julian allowed me to love and better know my brother in the past 4 years. I wanted to build a future for us both, for us all, surrounded by people who saw me and loved me as I am, and so too could bring a group love that would see and love Julian as he deserved to be seen, loved, understood, admired, and celebrated. Because of Julian, I now have many brothers and a whole family of people who I love and strive to love well. They multiply his light like a chandelier, and none can replace him. As I wrote in my grief group chat that is composed of my many dear ones, which itself has become like a digital Shiva, I am having a very live realization that the love produced in a relationship between two people is a fusion of spirit. And while true in shared life, when one of them is gone, this fusion is best honored when it results in new relationships and in new love. My memory of Julian will forever be transformed by the remarkable connections that are happening here, now, in the wake of his passing. Today, I am learning how to connect people to each other so that nobody is left behind. I hope that more of this happens today as the result of us all being together here in this room, in these rooms. And witnessing one another in our choices and in our uniqueness. The time between his leaving and his burial has been an experience of living inside of the paradoxes that he himself saw clearly. The experience both of devastation and of olam haba, the world to come. This week I have seen friends and loved ones from every corner showing up with devotion for me and for us all, bringing what they have to hold me and us and each other in this loss, while creating something entirely beautiful, loving, and new with each other in the space of Julian's absence. We leave the light on. This too is the source code for how to make a better world. It is how to dig wells. It is the mechanism by which we will transform this country into a place that is livable and beautiful. Julian was deeply concerned with the political state of affairs, with climate catastrophe and the rise of fascism. The lessons of connection that illuminate my life with him are, coincidentally, exactly the medicines that we need in order to change it all for the better. In this strange moment, I see most clearly that the world that Julian and I long for is possible. In this way, he has helped reveal its vision and build its reality. I didn't want him to go yet. I didn't want to be an only child. I don't know what lies through the door of this grief. I accept his decision. Our love as siblings has allowed me to love the struggle in myself, which opens every door to love the struggle in others. Every single person I love is a gift from and for him. Julian planted these great seeds of my life. As I take him with me into this totally unknown chapter, I will tend their growth and do my best to share the fruits of our shared labor. I hope all of you will find your own unique ways to do the same. His life was and is in service of life. May we go from strength to strength, from life to life. I love you, Julian. Baruch Hashem.
It is customary during a funeral to read psalms. As we've already sung Psalm 121, I lift my eyes. The next psalm, Rena Yehuda asked for, Psalm 145. It's not the usual psalm that is chosen for a funeral. It is at the end of the book of Psalms and part of the Psalms of praise. And in fact, Psalm 145 is an acrostic of praise for God. Verses of praise for each letter of the Hebrew alphabet except for the letter Nun, the first letter of the word to fall, Nefilah. The Talmud notices this, and the rabbis read that King David, who composed the Psalms, skipped it so as not to embed a hint of Israel's fall into a psalm of praise. Then tellingly, the next verse is the letter Pei. Potech et yadecha umaspir lecho haratzon. You open your hand and satisfy every living thing's desire. Is read as the psalm itself repairing the gap. The missing letter and its patch become the theology. Brokenness doesn't get papered over. It gets held through generosity and through love. Psalm 145.
Ashrei yoshvei v'techa, od yalelu chasela, אשרי העם שככה לו, אשרי העם שרונה אלוהיו, תהילה לדוד, ארוממך לא היה מלך, ועברך שמך לעולם ועד. בכל יום אברכך, ויעללה שמך לעולם ועד. גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, ולגדולתו אין חקר. דור לדור ישבח מעשיך, וגבורותיך יגידו. הדר כבודותיך, ודברי נפלאותיך השיחה. וזוז נורותיך יאמרו, וגדולתך הספרנה. זכר אב טובך יביעו, וצדקתך ירננו. חנון ורחום אדוני, ערך אפיים וגדול חסד. טוב אדוני לכל, ורחמיו על כל מעשיו. יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך, וחסידיך יברכוך. כבוד מלכותך יאמרו, וגבורותך ידברו. להודיע לבני אדם גבורותיו, וכבוד הדר מלכותו. מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים, וזוקף לכל הכפופים. הנה כל אליך יספרו, ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם ביתו. פותח את ידיך, ומשביע לכל חי רצון. צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו. קרוב אדוני לכל קוראיו, לכל אשר יגרו באמת. רצון יראיו יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם. שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל רשעים ישמיד. תהילת אדוני ידבר פי, ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד. ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם.
Now I'd like to invite Julian's mother, Heidi, to speak.
I wanted to come up to the bima to be able to see all of you and also to be seen. That's a theme that keeps coming up for me. I worry that as time goes by, people will be afraid to bring up Julian's name in 3 months or 2 or 10 years for fear that it will be too painful for me, too painful for my family. Please know that I will always want to hear Julian's name, Julian Isaac Chaim Yitzchak. I will always want to hear memories of him. He is part of me and will always be part of me. I am so grateful to be Julian's mother. I am so grateful to be Rena Yehuda's mother. That is who I am, and that will never change. I love you.
When Julian would send a text to his Aunt Natalie, he'd always end it with, "Love you, Nat." That was Julian. As we have heard so many people speaking so beautifully about how sensitive and loving and tuned into people's emotions, Julian was someone who really saw people. When he first met Ed, Rena Yehuda's husband, at a dinner at the Goldfein Newman home, there was conversation about Israel around the table that could have become uncomfortable or contentious. Sensing his discomfort and wanting him to be able to speak freely, Julian turned to Ed, and said, "Everyone respects everyone here," making Ed feel comfortable in that moment. In addition to his emotional intelligence, Julian also really wanted to use his intellect and schooling to make the world a better place. As Rena Yehuda spoke about, he earned a master's degree in international trade from the Middlebury Institute of International Studies. And he would have liked to work for a think tank in DC, but alas, that kind of opportunity wasn't available under our current administration. He did, however, tutor immigrants in English through the Heartland Alliance. Julian, as we have heard, was bright and curious. He took up chess as a young child at the Edgebrook Public Library. He liked to compete, but he was also known among his competitors as being the nicest, most supportive person with whom to play. In high school, he became interested in Russian literature, and in college, he had a TA in Russian who really valued his intellect. He became, as we've heard, fluent in Russian. And Dave and Heidi were so proud when he read a paper to them that they couldn't understand, but they could quell in his fluent Russian. As a child, Julian enjoyed and was competitive in sports. He loved to ski. Rena Yehuda has fond memory of skiing together, then hanging out in the hot tub and consuming a whole rack of lamb at their Aunt Miriam's house. He was also a cyclist and competed at the velodrome. As children, Rena Yehuda and Julian enjoyed sleepovers at their Aunt Nat's home, watching TV and eating ice cream. It was a lovely early memory of Shabbat for the two of them. Later in life, as we heard, Julian took up cooking, and he was a real foodie, even making, as I understand it, his own chimichurri sauce. Rena Yehuda spoke about Julian's Hebrew name, Yitzchak, laughter, and the spiritual significance of his namesake. Yitzchak, as we know from our tradition, was a man of few words, especially after the Akedah. But Yitzchak busied himself building a family and digging the wells his father Abraham had dug before him. He was a man who acted, and these wells gave life to the land and to those who came after. Yitzchak was a nurturer, someone who made the future possible by his patient, steady care. It is fitting, then, that Julian, bearing that same name, would find his own way of tending new life. As we heard from Rena Yehuda, this past spring, Rena Yehuda and Ed came to town for Pesach, and Ed, as a master gardener, thought that working the soil and growing things might give Julian something to nurture, and in turn be nurtured by. More than that, it was a way for the three of them to grow together. Ed bought seedlings, and Rena and Julian went to Menards to buy topsoil and other supplies. They built raised beds and planted together. Gardening is not only an activity that connects one to the future, one that requires tending and care in order to grow something, but in Julian's case, also to the past, to his great-grandfather, who was an amazing gardener. And it is, perhaps most of all, an act of connection to the people we garden alongside. When Rena Yehuda and Ed offered Julian last spring, wasn't only soil and seedlings, it was their presence, their hope, their love, planted right alongside his. When I was at the Goldfein Newman home just the other night, I saw the sunflower that Julian had grown. It was tall and almost in full bloom. Sunflowers are heliotropic, meaning they follow the sun and are associated with warmth and joy. They remind us to focus on one's light rather than their absence. And a sunflower head, when mature, is packed with hundreds of seeds, an image of what a life leaves behind, multiplying beyond itself, even after the flower is gone. As we mourn Julian's untimely death, let us remember his light and tend the seeds that he planted in his life. His intellectual curiosity, his competitive spirit, and most importantly, his kindness and empathy. We extend our hearts to Julian's family, his loving aunts, uncles, cousins, and friends, and with especially tender care, knowing the depth of their loss to his immediate family, to his sibling Rena Yehuda and their husband Ed, and to his parents Heidi and Dave. What an incredibly nurturing and caring and smart and amazing family you are. You loved and were loved by Julian so fully and gave him everything you had to give. No family could have done more or loved more completely and continue to love so completely Julian and each other. Know that everyone here in this sanctuary loves you so deeply and holds you in this time of incredible grief. May Julian's memory be like that sunflower in his garden, still turning toward the light, still holding warmth, still carrying within it everything that will grow beyond this moment of loss. The seeds he planted in that garden and in each of us who loved him are his blessing and his legacy. Zichrono livracha, may his memory be an abiding blessing.
Mismor Davies, Adonai Elohim achsar, Birat Asher Bitzini, Al Memenachot Yenaleni, Nafshi Yeshovet, Nafshi Yeshovet, Yalecheni b'maglit tzedek, Leman shemo
Soon we will conclude our service for Julian with El Molei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. And then we will escort Julian to the cemetery. Until the interment is complete, our focus is on caring for Julian and making sure he is lovingly attended to. Only after the burial do we begin the mitzvah, the sacred obligation of Nichum Avelim, comforting the mourners. As we just sang in Psalm 23, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Our job is to accompany. That's what the word in Hebrew for funeral means, levaya, to accompany. And so we ask that you not greet the family until the interment has concluded. And when you do come to the house of mourning, I want to remind you of our tradition's wisdom about how we conduct ourselves there. Jewish tradition teaches that we don't speak to the mourners until they speak with us first. This reminds us that what brings comfort is our presence, our accompanying, not our words. We come to listen and to let the mourners experience their grief as it comes. If we do speak, let it be to share a story or memory of Julian, or to invite the mourners to share one with us. Shiva is a time for reflection on the life of the deceased, not on the death itself. It is not a time to ask how Julian died. In this way, our presence becomes a gift rather than a burden, and together we help carry Julian's family through these first tender days of mourning. We find ourselves now in the Jewish calendar in the season between Tisha B'Av, when we mourn the loss, the destruction of both of our temples in Jerusalem, and Rosh Hashanah, when we celebrate the new year, a time, a period in which we read 7 haftarot of consolation, Shiva Denechemta, from the book of Isaiah, bringing us the message of God's loving comfort. And we pray for solace in this season and in the midst of their own grief. We pray especially for peace and comfort for Julian's family and for us to accompany them on this journey and to help be that source of comfort. We now take a moment to offer in our own hearts silently a prayer for Julian's soul and a prayer for his family. Please take a few moments now. Before we rise together for El Molei Rachamim, just want you to take a moment, as we did earlier in the service, acknowledging our choices and who we are, to do as Julian often did, to really see another person. Just turn to the person next to you and to say, "I see you." Please rise.
Shochein מוצאים מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה. עם קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת חיים יצחק בן דוד וחיה שלומית שהלך לעולמו בעל הרחמים רחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים בצרור חיים את נשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו ינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן.
Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Julian, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and together we say, Amen.
Please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, the interment service will continue at Memorial Park Cemetery, located at 9900 Grosse Pointe Road in Skokie. The family will be together at the Newman Goldfein residence. That information you'll find on the service folder. Memorial contributions to Hias or to the Beth Emet Free Synagogue. That information you'll find. Also, for those of you who are joining us via live stream, all that information can be found on the funeral home's website. For those of you who will be driving in the funeral procession, please bring your car into the parking lot. For those of you who are not, please exit as soon as you can. Another just gentle reminder, please do not approach the family. They're not coming out to their cars until the synagogue has been emptied, until everybody's in their cars in the appropriate place. Once we get to the cemetery, the pallbearers again will come forward. We'll place Julian's casket onto the lowering device. The rabbi, the cantor will perform the ceremony. And then at the end, we'll have the shura. Please do not approach the family until the burial is complete. This time I invite everyone to please rise and stand in place as the pallbearers come forward. And also, for those of you who are in procession, please have your bright lights on and hazard lights on at all times. Use your horn liberally as you're going through the intersections. This time, the pallbearers will escort Julian from the sanctuary along with his family and the clergy, and then you may return to your cars.